Do you want a Christian nation or a demonic nation? That's really the two options. There is no vacuum in the middle. Thomas Aquinas talks about how in the world now, there is the kingdom of Christ and the kingdom of Antichrist, and they are at war. They've been at war since the time of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, all the way up through the Old Testament, New Testament, right here into 2025. And we've seen that with this horrible tragedy in Minnesota, where it is truly Antichrist versus Christ. And so today I have a stalwart traditional Catholic, Michael Matt of the Remnant. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about our thoughts on Pope Leo. I know a lot of y'all want us to talk about Pope Leo, and then talk about where we are as a country, as a civilization, not just America, but Europe. Michael Matt's been very involved in European Catholicism and the Chartres pilgrimage. So lots to talk about today. Of course, there's also the CIC conference coming up. So I'm going to introduce Michael Matt in just a little bit. Before we do, I want to remind everybody we're moving into launch week for the new book, Christian Patriot. If you haven't pre-ordered, please do pre-order. And I also want to honor today's sponsor, and that is Pure Health Research. And you've heard me talk about it before. So many of us struggle with energy. You're weighed down. You struggle to get throughout the day. You wake up already exhausted. And it might very well be that you have a sluggish, overworked liver. And your liver is your main line of defense against food toxins, environmental, GMOs, microplastics, fluorides, everything you put into your body, alcohol, and over time, this takes a serious toll. And 100 million Americans suffer from an overworked, sluggish liver. That's 1 in 3. So I want to introduce to you, you've heard me talk about it before, Pure Health Research, their liver health formula. It's 11 powerful, clinical, proven natural ingredients to help you rejuvenate and detox your liver. So they have a special discount code. It's Taylor, Taylor, 35% off to my audience. Go to purehealthresearch.com, purehealthresearch.com, and use that discount Taylor and take the first step towards better liver health and vibrant living today. purehealthresearch.com. You can use the QR code and make sure you use that discount code Taylor. All right, we got Michael Matt. Michael Matt shows are awesome. We've collaborated throughout the years, and like I said, he's the OG. He's the old school. He's been doing traditional Latin Mass back before we had FSSP and ICK hotel rooms. He was confirmed by Archbishop Lefebvre. There he is, Michael Matt. God bless you, my brother. How you doing?
Good. How you doing? Good to see you.
Good. A tough week this week with the tragedy. We have to be careful how we talk about it on the socials, but the tragedy in Minnesota and just the revelations of, his journal and, what he wrote on the weapons. And of course, shooting through the stained glass in the church. And, this is a anti-Catholic versus Catholic war. And I think it's waking people up that it's not just about being good Americans. We have to have Jesus Christ. We have to have Catholicism. And I think you've been a big mover in that, both in Europe and America. What are your initial thoughts?
Just another day in Minneapolis. I mean, this has been going on for years. I always like to, in talking about anything to do with Minneapolis, to remind people that before our city burned during the BLM riots, just a couple of weeks before, the Mayor Fry, who's still there, he set up and called for Abortion Providers Appreciation Day in Minneapolis. So this is absolutely a spiritual war. This is demonic activity going on. And I would like to remind your viewers that this is not some radical grunge kid or whatever the new category is for the kids who are having such trouble and struggling now in our culture. This is a Catholic kid. This is a kid who grew up in a relatively conservative Catholic family and just completely went off the rails. So what we're seeing now is what is, in my opinion, is precisely what Hilaire Belloc spoke about. You either have Christ or chaos. And I don't know how many more ways we can say this. The chaos that we're seeing is a direct consequence of the war on the social kingship of Jesus Christ. And in all of this, Taylor, where is the Catholic Church?
Yeah, I've been disappointed that, we've seen a call to prayer. Pope Leo sent a very nice message to Archbishop Hebda, but we haven't seen bishops or popular priests come out and make statements, and maybe they're just shocked by it and they're praying about it. But I mean, this is a lightning rod moment where people are looking for direction, and there's a lot of different topics here. One is parish security. I know that, the Catholic churches that I attend, we have guys with earpieces, we have professional security, we have police there. We're pretty locked down. I feel safe going to my Catholic church. But it's obviously not the case everywhere, and particularly Catholic schools. We saw a similar one in 2023. It was a Presbyterian school and church where a person who was also confused about their identity came in and actually hunted down and got the pastor's daughter. So, we need the bishops to stand up and provide some leadership on, are we safe when we go to Mass? Obviously, this is becoming a recurrent theme in America. If I take my 8 kids to Mass with my wife, are we safe, or are we sitting ducks? And then also there's the spiritual element. You have James Martin, the Jesuit, going all over the country. And Bishop Strickland spoke out against this at the USCCB. And he's encouraging parents to accept this, to sign off on it. And we saw that this young man's mother had signed off on it. My big question is, did she go to a James Martin workshop? Was she receiving this poor formation, this poor catechesis? I mean, is James Martin active up there? Is there a big so-called Catholic group promoting this?
Yeah, I think the thing I don't mean to be sensational. We certainly do not want to politicize a terrible situation, but we're not politicizing it. You just mentioned your 8 children. I've got 7 kids. I go to Mass every Sunday, and we have security as well. The problem is, Taylor, in this particular case, the shooter shot through the stained glass window. Okay, so nobody saw him come in. Nobody would have noticed. Even if you had the guards at the doors, chances are they wouldn't even have noticed this. So he took some precautions. And the reason I say this is because that's why we're not politicizing this. We are all at risk now. And we've been saying this for a long time. I get so frustrated when people accuse or dismiss traditional Catholics as just being sort of Latin buffs. And we just have these little liturgical hang-ups. We want our Latin Mass. No, what's happening is that the Catholic Church is ceasing to be a moral authority in the world today. That's the problem. And there simply are not enough police officers. There are not enough security guards to take care of the problem that our society is no longer able or capable of policing itself. And by the way, Mayor Fry talked about, let's not attack the trans community. I have no interest in attacking this kid. He's another victim. He's not the problem. He's not even sort of the problem. He's another victim, who grew up in a Catholic school. He was even homeschooled for a while before his parents got divorced and everything. His Catholic parents got divorced and everything fell apart in his world. And again, I would say, where's the church? This is why, Taylor, we're not just being obstreperous when we talk about the fact that the bishops have become, and I would take it all the way to the top, the Pope, the Vatican itself has become completely impotent in all of this. What are they talking about right now? They're talking about climate change, Taylor. They're talking about synodality. They're talking about things that don't make any difference, especially to young people. They couldn't possibly care any less. Rather than talking about mortal sin, rather than talking about building the family back up, going back to confession, policing ourselves morally, right? Rather than talking about any of that, the bishops, for the most part, seem terrified to even bring up sin and the consequences and heaven and hell, the 4 last things. And this, in my opinion, is a problem. So lots of people got onto Mayor Fry. And of course, I cannot abide Mayor Fry. He makes me crazy, the way he's always interjecting himself into these issues in a very personal way. But I will say one thing. He's taking a lot of heat for having said this is more than just thoughts and prayers for the family. We need to do more. Now, what's he talking about? He's talking about gun control and things like that. So I don't agree where he wants to take it. I do agree that it should be more than just thoughts and prayers, sort of a throwaway slogan when people lose their children and we say, oh man, that's too bad. Well, our thoughts and prayers are with the family. No. When is the Catholic Church going to start interjecting itself in a serious, moral, authoritative way once again, so that nobody would dare shoot up a church, so that nobody would dare go to Catholic children, anybody's children, and tell them that it's time to have a surgery and that maybe you're not a little boy, maybe you're actually a little girl? Until we get the church to answer the question, where is the moral authority of the Catholic Church? Nobody would have done this 60 years ago. They're doing it now whenever they want, and the Catholic Church really has no response other than thoughts and prayers for the family. Isn't that awful? Where are they? Where are the bishops? And I would say, where have the popes been in preventing this moral decay? and this attack on the social kingship of Jesus Christ and the Christian family, which has led to total chaos, not just chaos, but the death of children now. We're all susceptible to this. We're all at risk until the Catholic Church wakes up again, and obviously that's what traditional Catholicism is all about. We need the moral authority of the church. It's not just a liturgical issue.
Man, you nailed it. And sometimes we hear people, especially on the James Martin side of things, like, well, it's not hurting anyone. These are private affairs. You know, what I do in my bedroom or my inclinations or my degenerate behavior, it doesn't hurt anyone. Just let people alone, give them their privacy. But we're starting to see that the degeneracy actually does begin to leak out like a toxin into the rest of society, into the rest of the body. These are not things that are self-contained because, I mean, you and I are Catholics. We believe in the spiritual realm. We believe in the demonic. And I've heard so many priests, including great exorcists, they talk about how, you know, the devil gets these people sexually entrapped and moves them along degeneracy. And that's usually the portal by which they eventually enter into the occult, black magic, witchcraft, Satanism. And, you know, I don't know if this person was possessed or not, but I mean, there's that image that's been floating around the internet. Let's see if I have it right here, where it's clearly him and he's loaded up and he's looking into a mirror and he either sees himself as the demonic or he's speaking through the mirror to the demonic. I mean, clearly this is preternatural and it's horrific. And, you know, the bishops need to talk about, you know, the chief exorcist of the diocese is the bishop. A lot of people don't know that. Every diocese comes preloaded with an exorcist. Like, who's the exorcist? The exorcist is always the bishop. He can delegate it to another priest. But a bishop in his charism, in his office, in his munus, is an exorcist. And he needs to be driving out evil from his geographic territory. That's part of his vocation. You know, talking about democratic political talking points and being green and recycling and welcoming diversity and let's go do an ecumenical prayer with the Lutherans and the Muslims and the Jews and on and on. That's not at the core of the identity and calling and vocation of the bishop and the clergy. And
absolutely.
And we need protection. We need spiritual protection. We also need this physical protection. We need spiritual protection because look, like you said, Michael, these demons or these sins or whatever, they got into a Catholic young man. This perpetrator was raised in a Catholic system, went to Catholic schools, went to Catholic church. And by the time he was doing this event, he was hating God and writing all sorts of. Did you see that he wrote, take, eat, this is my body on one of his weapons? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Let me pull it up. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
Take this, all of you, and eat. That is sick.
You know, and again, Taylor, he's another product of the broken family. See, the devil has many ways of entering into our society. And if you think back to a little bit back in history a bit, Pope Pius XI in 1927 or 8 wrote Casti Connubii, you know, against contraception and against he was foreseeing what was happening. And the church, the power, the moral authority of the church was such that the Pope, even after he had lost the papal states and a lot of the temporal power, obviously, was able to tell people, because their soul means something and salvation means something, was able to tell a billion Catholics what they can and can't do behind the closed doors of their bedrooms. This is how important it was in his mind to save and preserve the chief bulwark against the devil, which is the Catholic family. So they've been after the Catholic family for a long time, and it wasn't that long ago when the Catholic Church had the authority to say to the entire Catholic world, here's what we're going to do. We are going to keep our family strong. We're going to keep our children pure. And you know what? The Catholic people listened. Now nobody could care any less. And so the Catholic Church really seriously, really does not say anything that matters anymore. I don't care about climate change. You look at these little dead kids. I couldn't care any less about climate change. You look at this shooter. You know what the problem is? The fires of hell are the problem that this kid faces right now, rather than the fires of a burning planet that might happen in an Al Gore sense of hysteria, right? So that the Catholic Church needs to redefine, it needs to find its mission again. It's not climate change. It's not social uplift. It's not defending or taking down conservative public presidents who want to protect the border. You know, it's the morality. It's the four last things. That's what the church's job is: to teach, govern, and sanctify. They've completely gone AWOL. And this is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the big pushes in my new book, Christian Patriot, is we have to personally be converted, but the very most important thing, and you referred to with Pope Pius IX and also Pope Pius the 12th and forward, is we must guard and protect the family in holy matrimony. If you look at the Protestant Reformation, it began as an attack on matrimony with Luther, with Henry VIII, et cetera. It was they lowered matrimony, and that was the devil's foothold in then destroying the family. And so everything we've seen in the last 100 years, no-fault divorce, legalized contraception, legalized abortion,
Absolutely.
redefining what is a human, when does life begin, redefining what is a man, what is a woman, redefining matrimony. All of that goes back 500 years to saying marriage is not a sacrament. Marriage does not pertain to the 7 sacraments and the system created by Jesus Christ for his Catholic Church that has now been lowered to a state function. And now the secular state, can just completely revise things. And we're at the end of the road. I mean, when you redefine human life, redefine marriage, redefine what is a male, what is a woman, there's nothing left. Like what we saw in this horrible tragedy, that is the end of the road for this.
Yeah, Sister Lucia Fatima, if you take from where you began with the Protestant revolt, go to the future, Sister Lucia, she talked about the devil's final battle will be against marriage and the family. That's what we're seeing right now. And the reason the devil, in my opinion, is going after the small domestic church, the family, is because there's no other defense anymore. The Catholic Church, I'm sorry, I love the church. I'm a faithful Catholic. I've never missed Mass a day in my life. But the Catholic Church is now dysfunctional, completely dysfunctional. And so we cannot count on the bishops and the popes anymore to defend us against the world, the flesh, and the devil. There's only one place left where we can try to put some sort of a bulwark, some sort of a fortress together, and that's in the family. In my opinion, the devil knows that. He knows that. So the attack now is through culture, attack on the family, divorce, contraception, abortion, and everything else. And I say, when you look at what happened here in Minneapolis, that's a result of the attack on the family. Everything looked like, in that particular family, like it was going not too bad. They were fairly conservative Catholics until there was a separation. I understand there was a divorce. Very sad that happened. This kid becomes another little collateral damage. And the result is, it's not just that one family, but in general, the breakup of the family, division of the family, the absenteeism of the Catholic Church as a moral authority, and you end up with shooters in schools and churches and kids at Mass. That's where this goes. So I would say, if you're thinking about traditional Catholicism, what that means, do it not only for the defense of your soul, do it for the defense of your body and your family, because this is becoming all-out anarchy, exactly as Belloc said, chaos. We've gotten rid of Christ, now we face chaos. The only way out of this chaos, the only way to protect your family is a restoration of the Catholic Church. I'm sorry, but that's it. It's the recognized moral authority of history, moral authority of the world, and right now it's talking about planting trees, synodality, journeying, and a lot of nonsense that absolutely is wasted on a society desperate for the truth.
And if you want proof, as you just said, of the truth of the Catholic faith and the traditional presentation of the Catholic faith, who has been right hundreds of years before we got to this point? They said, don't use contraception, don't legalize abortion, don't allow for divorce. And society went ahead, and this is where we at. So we're at a point now, Michael, Matt, and I wanted to have you on because you are very much a cultural warrior, and you're aware of what's going on in Europe, and you're also, I think, at the heart of, I hate to say populist because that's such a loaded term, but popular expressions of our Catholic faith, like the Chartres pilgrimage, which I walked with you. It was an amazing experience. We need to take up space in the public square. You know, we need to have our statues, our crucifixes, our holy water, signs of the cross, flags, pilgrimages, monasteries. Can you speak to that vision and then what y'all are doing at Remnant? I know you'll have a conference coming up.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, Taylor, in my opinion, what we need to do is we need to give our young people a crusade. So I'm really not that interested in scolding all our kids and saying, you can't do this and you can't do that, like a school mom, some sort of Karen, with a lot of hangups. What I'm interested in is giving them the glories of the crusade, of the idea and the spirit of the crusade, because young people are really dying for that. They want to be warriors. They want to fight for something that matters. So I think it's really, really important for us, and that's what happens at the Sharp Pilgrimage, where you have 3 days of young people hoisting the flag of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, wearing the Sacred Heart of Jesus, being proud of it, not being feeling obligated to do it or I'm going to go to hell, but no, absolutely be proud of what you are as Catholics. And it's become a lot easier to do that. I grew up in the 80s, and it was more difficult to really assert your Catholicism because we thought things were going in a really powerful direction, not a good direction, but a powerful direction. Madonna and Pope John Paul and all these big things were happening, and that was the future. Okay, look at it now, Taylor. Look what's happening now. It's not difficult for our kids to say, well, I don't want to end up with everything pierced and tatted, and I don't know which bathroom to use, and I might be a girl or I might be a boy. This is not attractive. It's really, truly not attractive. So this is the time, in my opinion, for tradition-minded Catholics. That's not just Latin Mass Catholics, but anybody who wants to be a proud practicing Catholic. This is the time to strike. Give your children the fullness of truth. Make them proud of it, and you're going to be amazed by the crusading spirit that can take over again and prevent the kind of things that are happening all around that just happened in my city.
Yeah. And a crusade it's a social movement. People make sacrifices. People use their wealth, their energy, even their lives to promote Holy Mother of the Church and Jesus Christ. And remember, what did the crusades start out as? It wasn't this offensive war, we need more real estate. The crusades started because Catholic pilgrims were being murdered and attacked in their worship as they went to these pilgrimage sites, chief of which was the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. That is why the Crusades began, because Catholic Christians were being murdered. And so when you say, I'm calling young people to a crusade, obviously neither of us are popes, but we are now back to that moment. And I think it's a positive Christianity. It's not, like you said, it's not like a negative Christianity of like, don't do this, don't do that. It's, if we're going to retake, don't contracept, abortion is off the table, no sex before marriage, marriage is a sacrament, be generous, have 20 kids, like this is a call to something great, and it's a great advencher for these young people. I tell you what, for us.
Well said. We need to stop talking about the duty, although we do obviously have duties as soldiers of Jesus Christ, and we need to start talking about the honor of being alive right now and having the faith. This is the supreme honor of our lives. I'll give you your viewers a little bit of a hint. All the families that I know from way back in the day, whose kids, people my age now, survived, stayed traditional Catholic, everyone that I can think of, the parents did the same thing. In my own case, my father gave us the crusade, and the crusade was to fight for the Latin Mass, fight for the traditional Catholic restoration. And he didn't have to tell us a whole lot of what to do and what not to do. We wanted to be part of it. Michael Davies did that. A lot of the pioneers did. They said, you want to be with us? Do you want them to tell your story someday? Do you want to be the next Edmund Campion? Do you want to be the next Cristero? Do you want to be the next Von Dayen? You have a chance to do it. This is the message that we have to give to our children. You have the chance right now, the chance of a lifetime, the honor of a lifetime, to have them tell your story someday when you stood up for the faith of our fathers. This is not a dowry, a horrible, burdensome duty. This is an honor. All we have to do is rethink of it, how we present it to our children.
Amen. That's beautiful. Y'all have a conference coming up, the CIC, Catholic Identity Conference, and y'all got 5 bishops this year. I mean, you guys are turning into like the USCCB up there now.
With the faith, preferably.
Yeah, exactly. Tell us what's going on this year at the Catholic Catholic Identity Conference.
To me, it's really exciting, and I see the providence of God in this. I've always, and you, of course, you know this, but I mean, the restoration of the church is God's business. God is going to restore His church. I'm not going to. You're not going to. But we have to do what we can as members of the human element of the church, because God always works through human agents. And so we have to try to be have the honor of being part of however God is going to ultimately restore the church. And we can't do this alone. Restoration is not going to come from the grassroots. Grassroots is where we can hang on to the faith, and indeed we must, but the ultimate restoration comes through the hierarchical system that Jesus, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, established. So we cannot walk away from the bishops or the papacy. So I've spent a lot of time over the years trying to forge relationships and alliances with bishops, even if they're not 100% traditional Catholics. If they're coming in the direction, if they see what's wrong with synodality, if they understand what's wrong with this emphasis on climate change versus the four last things, for example, I see them as allies. More than allies, I see them as potential leaders. So this year, we've been working. We've had cardinals speak at the Catholic Identity Conference. We had Cardinal Muller a couple of years ago speak. This year, I'm more than honored, and I see it the hand of God in this, that 5 bishops are willing now to come and say, you know what, there's a problem, and we need to put our heads together and see what we can do to survive and to serve Mother Church in a time of great need. And so, yeah, I'm just blown away by this. 5 bishops are going to come in person to the Catholic Identity Conference. I'm really hoping, in fact, we have a flash sale going this week. I have basically a half price, half off. I want families there. I want young people there. For 2 reasons. One, because we need to be confirmed in the faith, and we need to be to make sure that we set ourselves inside the church. We can't leave the church to fight for the church. We have to stay within the church to fight. And I think the other thing that we need to do is we need to show these bishops that do take a stand, that do finally break those chains of collegiality and come out and say what needs to be said. They need to know that the traditional Catholic, tradition-minded Catholics, if you prefer, throughout the whole world are going to stand with them. That's what we need to do. We need to say, no, if you guys do the right thing, you'll have no greater defenders on the wall than traditional Catholics. So I'm really excited about this at the CIC. I hope we can have a huge showing and hope everybody understands the significance of this. We're not rogues. We're not renegades. We can't do it alone. We have to find some way of working with the hierarchy to bring back Catholic restoration. Even if it's very slowly, it has to start somewhere. I see the hand of God in this conference. It's October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. 5 bishops will be there, and I cannot wait to shake their hands, ask for their blessing, and thank them for taking a very, very courageous stand. Look, we saw what happened to Bishop Strickland. This is not easy. It takes a lot of courage for bishops in the positions that they're in to come to a conference like the Catholic Identity Conference, and I can't wait to thank them for it. I think it's going to be a big deal.
That's awesome. Oh, if y'all, yeah. I really would encourage y'all to go to the CIC this year. In the show notes below me is the link. Is it half off, Michael? Right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Half off flash sale. So check it out. I love your website. You got the crusade theme going there. It's October 3rd through 5th, 2025 Catholic Identity Conference. I've spoken at it before. It's an amazing group of people. I mean, I think it is the premier traditional Catholic event in the United States of America.
I think so. I got to get you back, by the way. It'd be great to have you back there again. But this year we have, for example, George Farmer. We have Liz Wheeler, who's now, again, I don't think she's a traditional Latin Mass Catholic, but she has a lot of influence, especially with young people online. And she's coming in the direction of tradition. She starts her show every day with a prayer to St. Michael, for Pete's sakes, because she believes this is a spiritual war. These are the kind of people, I'm a little tired, to tell you the truth, preaching to the choir and preaching to the converted. So I really want to bring other people in who see that there's a real crisis in the church and who want to use their talents to try to raise an awakening. And then as we go along together, things like the Latin Mass and all of that can be really reinforced with these people who are very open to it. Like, for example, your friend and mine, George Farmer. He's wide open to the traditional Latin Mass. He will be speaking here, and he's a guy of considerable influence. So this is really exciting for us. The idea of, again, pushing the message, pushing the fight, the proclamation of the social kingship of Jesus Christ out into the central square, into the marketplace. This is really interesting to me. And so we have missionary priests from Africa coming up, because there's a lot going on in Africa right now with traditional Catholicism having a resurgence. And I think all around it's just going to be a really, really important conference. Even if you can't make it, I think for the movement, this is a very, very important conference coming up.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, everybody, I'd sign up. October 3rd through 5th. Is that right?
That's it.
You just put the QR code. If you're watching on television right now, you can pull your phone out and take a picture of that, click the link, sign up for the Catholic Identity Conference. Who are the 5 bishops? I see Bishop Athanasius Schneider, whom I love. I see Bishop Strickland. I was just texting with him this morning. Who are the other 3?
Bishop Elegante is from Switzerland. He got in a little trouble with Francis some years ago, and he's been very outspoken on the problem with synodality. I really encourage your viewers to go to our website and listen to his talk on synodality. Bishop Mutserts is just really a rising star, in my opinion. He's from the Netherlands, And he's doing some really interesting things, like trying to find a way to influence AI a little bit in a more traditional Catholic direction. I would say, I don't want to speak for him, but I would say he's absolutely slam dunk done with synodality, whatever that means.
Right.
And then we have Core Bishop Spinoza, of course, who's been around for a long time. He's a Maronite bishop. So we're kind of trying to get all the clans, not only the clans united, but also the bishops united. And this is a great quorum to kind of get it started.
Good. All right, everybody. Go to the CIC. It's awesome. It's the premier traditional Catholic event in America. Before we close up, Michael, Matt, I know I am getting, ever since Pope Leo XIV was elected, I get bombarded daily when I'm at Mass, when I'm at church, on text. Everyone's like, what do you think of Pope Leo? What do you think of Pope Leo? And I'm sure they're the same with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think of Pope Leo?
Well, the problem is that when you get to be a little bit up in years and you've been at this for a long time, as I have, there's nothing different here. You know, yeah. I mean, we do this every time there's a conclave. So people are saying, well, we got to jump on him. He's Francis. He's a son of Vatican II, and we got to condemn him. I say, what world are you living in which you thought maybe the current College of Cardinals was going to produce an anti-Vatican II? You know what I mean? So it's like, no, of course not. That's not where we are anymore. So I'm looking at Pope Leo, and I'm thinking this is what I've always thought. It's about the Catholic Restoration movement more than it even is about the Pope. So you have a man now who's making a couple of, just a little bit of a difference of a curveball, maybe, that we're going to watch and see. But how we react to that Pope has become, in my opinion, much more important than correctly evaluating him. So you know what I mean? So people want to say, I want to be the first one to denounce him as Francis II. You know what I say, Taylor? I say, I want to be the last one to denounce him as Francis II. If that's what he is, right. I want the entire world to see, whoever's paying attention to our work, I want the world to see that we went into criticizing the Pope, dragging our feet with a broken heart and not eager to do it. So I want to be the last one to do it. And the other thing is we pray and we hope for the very best with him. This doesn't mean we're deceived at all, but we only have one Pope. We only have one church. And so even if he turns out to be another Francis, for one thing, that's not the end of the world, because Francis became the greatest recruiter traditional Catholicism has ever had. So I think there's some of these younger guys who are just starting up on YouTube. They think that Francis 2.0 is the ultimate way to expose what Leo would be. Francis was an inevitable consequence. He wasn't the ramrod. He wasn't the beginning. The revolution started a long, long time ago. So we're in this for the long haul. And what we have to realize is that during the pontificate of Pope Francis, many, many people, I'm thinking of like cultural people, Candace Owens types, even non-Catholics like Tucker Carlson, lots of people began to see there's a real problem in the world. Then the world gets locked down. Many people began to wake up. Even some bishops began to wake up. Like, oh my gosh, this whole conspiracy theory, Alex Jones thing about a new world order, looks like it's true. Looks like that's exactly what so we've seen a serious awakening. And so now what we need to do, there's no point in us as traditional Catholics starting our hair on fire and being the first to condemn Leo. What we want to do is we don't want to be a liability to the bishops and cardinals who right now are waking up. You know who I'm talking about. And I'm not going to spill my entire strategy to anybody publicly, but you know them. You're friends with them. There are a lot of bishops. There are a lot of cardinals waking up. What they have to see from the entire traditional Catholic movement is strategic sense. How are we going to fight this behind enemy lines? What are we going to do? It doesn't make any sense at this point strategically to denounce Leo. First of all, he might not be as bad as we think, but if he is, so what? We know how to do this. We know how to stay in the church and to be the loyal opposition and to resist. But the resistance movement now is much more organized than it's ever been. So we need to put our heads together. It doesn't make any sense to go off half-cocked on YouTube as a lone wolf. I am going to denounce Leo. This just doesn't make any sense strategically. So what I've been saying to people is just wait and see, because the coalition is so strong now throughout the whole church against synodality, against the climate change, against the direction in which the spirit of Vatican II has disastrously taken the church, that we again have an opportunity. Don't blow the opportunity by wanting to be the first one out of the gate to denounce Leo. Let's just wait and see. Now, again, that's not deception. That's not me being fooled because of the Mazzetto, because of a few words of Latin. That has nothing to do with it. I'm going to do the same thing that we were doing during Francis, during Benedict, during John Paul. Try to keep this coalition together behind occupied lines, do the most we can. And if there is any goodwill in Pope Leo, which I believe there is, and if he sees that we're willing to meet him a little bit on something like the Latin Mass, Well, great. Cardinal Burke was just talking to him last week, probably about the Latin Mass. If Cardinal Burke turns around and he sees a traditional Catholic movement like Night of the Living Dead, Leo is a heretic. Well, it's just silly. It doesn't accomplish anything. So even in terms of trying to get some advantages like the Latin Mass restored, it makes sense to kind of zip it a little bit and see what happens with men like Cardinal Burke and Cardinal Muller and Cardinal Sarah who are pushing in a favorable direction. It does not mean the resistance is over. Not at all. We can go back to that at any time. But first, let's do the Catholic thing. Pray for him. Look for the signs that maybe there's maybe a little better than the last pope, and just hope that within God's providence, at some point there'll be more of an awakening throughout the church. Let's be a part of that, not something that blocks it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was like, what is the flourishing of Catholic civilization? Probably like 13th century, 1200s. And you've got St. Francis and St. Dominic and St. Clare and St. Bonaventure and St. Thomas Aquinas. I mean, it's just like the greatest hits of all time, you know? And
yeah.
But then you think about, well, name 5 cardinals and name 2 popes. Like, I probably could name 2 popes from the 1200s, but you realize that the working of the Holy Spirit and the breathing and the blowing of the Holy Spirit is not always or usually through the hierarchy, although it should be. But God is he's at work, and I think a lot of people just cut their shoulders slump and they give up because they look at the state of the local diocese or the state of the local seminary or who's appointed in the Vatican, and they're just like, it's over. I'm being sede vacantis or Eastern Orthodox or whatever they come up with. You need to realize that there's been highs and lows, and God may be choosing you to be the next St. Francis or St. Clare or Bonaventure, Thomas Aquinas. He may give you that vocation. And so, you know, to go back to the idea of crusades, to go back to grassroots, to go back to giving youth a vision of you are called for this time.
Yeah.
That's the message. And I think that's the inspiring message. So, Michael, Matt, thanks for being on. Thanks for your witness throughout the years. I often mention you on my own podcast, like, you know, the stalwart guys who've been at this for a long time. You know, they have a prudential perspective that we need to be tapped into, because, like, you've been doing this since the JP2 days or even the Paulus 6 days. Like, you know, this is in a way new problems like synodality and Pachamamas or whatever, but there is also a way that if you're going to run this marathon, sprinting may not be the best tactic, you know.
Let me just interrupt you really on that point, Taylor. I remember a friend of mine saying when Bergoglio was elected Pope, she breathed a sigh of relief and she said, I don't know that the Catholic Church could have handled another conservative. So this idea that we're sitting here, you know, insisting that Cardinal Prevost, that Pope Leo is a conservative, and then we're going to think the war is over. No, that's not it. The conservative, the Catholic thing has been a huge problem at the level of the Vatican. So even, I would say this just as a matter of leaving on a positive note, even if he's not, if Pope Leo is not a conservative, we've already seen God work in amazing ways to wake people up, even when there's a pontificate that is very problematic for the church. We've seen mass awakening, so don't be discouraged. You know, even if it's not Pope Pius XIII, if it turns out to be more like Francis II, don't be discouraged. God saves His church in His time. That's going to happen, and we want to be a part of that. We're not looking for a conservative. We're looking for God's will and to do whatever we possibly can to bring about a better outcome. Ultimately, even if the Pope is not a saint, you know what I mean? Like, let's try to bring about a better outcome.
Yeah, we don't leave the church and we don't leave the Pope. I remember you and I were speaking at a conference during the Amazonian Synod in 2018 or 19. And you, in your talk, I remember because it hit me, you said, you know, part of the reason we're in this problem is through the actions of the papacy, but we will get out of this problem through the actions of the papacy.
Yeah,
killing off the papacy and rejecting the papacy is not the solution. And that,
absolutely.
I don't remember much else you said that day, but I remember you saying that, and I was like, that's an important point. It's very wise and prudent. So, Michael, Matt, thanks for being on. I want to encourage everybody to go to the CIC, Catholic Identity Conference. 5 bishops, great speakers, premier Catholic event. You'll meet all kinds of amazing traditional Catholics from all over the United States. And how many years have you been doing this, Michael, Matt?
I think we're up to 16 years this year.
16
It's
years.
been a while. Yeah.
So it's October 3 through 5. And there's a QR code that you can also, in the show notes, just go down there. It's the first or second link. Just click the link and you can register half off flash sale this week and through the weekend.
Yes, exactly. Through Sunday night. Yeah,
Good.
Sunday night.
All right, Michael, Matt. Well, thanks for coming on. We need to do more stuff together. Actually, I'm going to come on your show. So everybody, if you like this, we're going to continue the conversation. I'm going to be on the Underground with Michael, Matt. And when are you going to release that?
Sunday night. It'll drop Sunday night. Yeah.
Sunday. So if you want more, check over at the Remnant Sunday night. We'll continue the conversation. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Pray your rosary every day. You're not on the team. Find a traditional Latin Mass. If you're new to it, go 4 times. Just check it out. Test it out. And remember, our Lord Jesus Christ says you're the light of the world and the salt of the earth. So go out there and be salty. God bless. Godspeed. Thank you, Michael, Matt.
Thank you, Taylor.